Good evening, ma. Good evening, ma. Ma, can you hear me?
Sorry, where is everybody? Oh, this is very later than usual.
I just sent message to the groups again.
Okay, in another 2 minutes, we'll start the class. No need to waste further time. Sorry, please, let's start the class.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. And I want to welcome everyone for joining the day 2 section, continuation of our journey to growth, leadership, and transformation together. So this section is designed to go into the deeper topic of self-identification, finding ourselves, and we encourage everyone to stay engaged, participate actively, and take notes. And also remain open to learning, as we'll be getting a whole lot today, just like we did on the first day. We are going to be living with more clarity, more knowledge, more understanding this evening. So thank you. Let's welcome Miss Ivory. Mrs. Ivory, please, you can take over.
Okay, thank you, Corridor. Good evening, everybody. How are we doing? Hi, Abigail. Hi, Esther. Hi, Joy, Elizabeth, Sunday. How are we doing? How was our week? Let me know how you're doing and how your week has been. Put it in the chat for me. My week was great. I come bearing good news. I told you guys that I was preparing for my exam, and yeah, I did sit for my PMP exam on Thursday, and I passed. So drum rolls, drum rolls. PMP certified in the house. I'm grateful to God for that. The exam was tough, but we made it. The spirit of excellence. Thank you so much, Abigail. Thank you. Thank you. So how are we doing? You can actually unmute and let me know, to be honest, before we go into what we have for today. Today's session is probably going to be shorter than last week's session because we just want to build on last week's session and then bring everything around identity, purpose, vision to a wrap. So tell me, my week was a roller coaster, but it was all worth it. Just 2 days of sleep. Wow, I'm glad that you were busy. Like you, you were. I don't know what you mean by a roller coaster, but I want to assume that you were busy with work and maybe all the other things you're involved in. Yeah, well done, well done. I'm glad. My week was well done, Abigail. I hope you get your 2 days of uninterrupted. Okay, not uninterrupted, but your 2 days of sleep and rest. Awesome. Elizabeth, my week was great. I was privileged to achieve most of my goals for the week, which is so fulfilling. I know, right? I mean, I know that's an intentional babe right there. Well done, Elizabeth. I'm glad that you were able to, really just articulate the impact of the week around the goals that you set for yourself. And it's great to know that you achieved most of those goals. Those are the kind of things that keeps you, going. When you set a goal for yourself and you hit those goals, it sort of has a way of pushing you to, even do better and do more, and strengthen your resolve as well. So well done, Elizabeth. I'm glad to hear that. Who else? Who else? Who else? Joy, how was your week? Sunday, how was your week? Esther, how was your week? Let me know in the chat how your week went. Let me know, let me know, let me know. Okay, so while we're waiting for them to speak, last week we talked about identity and self-discovery. So if you were able to submit your assignment, put it in the chat, say submitted, or indicate in the chat that you submitted the assignment, which is by far the simplest assignment that I have seen. But I don't consider that an assignment. Your top 10 values. How many of you submitted your assignment? How many of you submitted? Great, Abigail, well done. Awesome. Esther, your week was stressful. Bele, at work. Thank God you have a job, and thank God for grace to even show up at work. Well done. Receive grace. Okay, who else submitted the assignment? Sunday, you're not saying anything on this call. You know our rule now. Everybody interacts on the call. We keep it interactive. Did the national grid fall in Nigeria? Are people's devices down? What's going on? Where are my people in this class? My week was quite stressful. Okay, I've read that. Okay, so Abigail, I want us to talk. During the assignment, what impact did it have on you? Because they're very reflective, and if you don't mind, I'd like you to unmute your mic and speak. It's a very reflective assignment, just thinking about your top 10 goals, sorry, your top 10 values in life. How was it for you? Really just, doing that. Let's hear you if you can speak. If you can
Good
speak, let
evening.
me. Okay, great. Go ahead. Good evening there.
I think for me the assignment was, yeah, I thought it was going to be simple because it was quite, what is this, 10 of this, 10 of that. It sounds very simple until you actually begin to think. It started from question one actually. Once I wrote the first five, I realized that I had to be introspective. And I think it was a really nice thing to actually sit down and think and realize that, okay, maybe all the things I think at the top of my head, when I go deeply into it, there's actually some work that has been done and still
Mm,
needs to be done.
mm.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. As I did that, thank you so much, Abigail, for sharing. I did this particular exercise about maybe 10, 11 years ago, and it was my mentor. I had been in a session with her, and she asked me, Ivy, what are your top? Mine was top three. I mean, top three was very easy. Then she said, okay, expand the list to 10 and let me know. And that was an exercise she needed me to do because she wanted to know if, the person at her level, she doesn't mentor everybody, right? She's too busy to mentor people. So she's very particular about the kind of people she brings into her mentorship group. The mentorship is a lot of work. So obviously she used that to sort of screen to know who I can work with and who I cannot work, that sort of thing. And I did write my top 10, but and it made me think very deeply. I realized that leaders do not just emerge, right? You know, of course, in leadership, they will tell you that they are born leaders. Some leaders are born, but some leaders are made. Now, the truth is that whether you're a born leader or not, every leader goes through the making process. So it doesn't matter if you were born and the star was shining very brightly over the roof of the hospital where your mother gave birth to you. There is a process. And one thing about leaders is intentionality. Like leaders are very intentional, you know. So doing that exercise made me realize that I was dropping the ball on a lot of fronts. Thankfully, I had some good grounds covered, enough to get me into the mentorship group, right? But I knew there was a lot of work to do. And beyond writing those values, one of the things that I did with putting it down was to actually, as in, scrutinize whether those values I was true to them. So when I said value for knowledge, I had to ask myself, okay, Madam Value for Knowledge, how many books have you read this year? How many seminars have you attended? How many courses have you taken? You know, I asked myself and I saw where I was falling short. So I realized that most of the things that I had put as my value were just things that, I mean, they were good thoughts, things I had good thoughts around, but I wasn't exactly imbibing them as values, like critical values. So, and with that exercise, I began to, you know, be more intentional. If I say I value this thing, for example, if you say you value your phone, you will pay attention to it. You, for let's say you have an iPhone 17, you will first of all go and buy the thickest screen guard, the thickest pouch. You will guard it. You know, you will guard. You pay a lot of attention to it. You know, treat it anyhow. Same way you say you have value for purpose fulfillment, because that should be one of your values. You value, you know, purpose fulfillment and all of that. How much impact, you know, or rather how much investment have you made into realizing or really just building on that value that you have? So if you've not done the exercise, you want to go and do that exercise, because that's the foundation that you will build your life on as a transformational leader. You need to know what your values are. You would also realize that some of the things that you had probably picked up as values do not align with your vision for life, and you need to drop them. You would also see where you need to prioritize development. Do you understand? You see areas where you need to prioritize development. You see areas, and the truth is that those values, you know, the value chain may not be, is not static. At some point in your life, some will begin to take top burner, others will go down. But your top three values should be sacrosanct: God, His kingdom, and your life's purpose. Those three should be your top three. God did no nobody changes, and in that order: God, His kingdom, and by when I say His kingdom, I'm talking about the values of the kingdom and everything, and then your purpose in line with God's will for your life. Those top three, then every other thing that comes can now be shifting shadows, you know, moving up and down like yo-yo as your life phase demands. So yeah, that is that. I don't know if any other person did the assignment and wants to tell us, you know, what the experience was like for them while they were doing that reflective thinking. Michael, welcome. I see you. Tosin, welcome. I see you. Blessing, welcome. I see you. So we're basically just going over the assignment from last week, which was what are your top 10 values? Right off the bat, even if you didn't do it, if you know what your top, okay, if you can tell me apart from the top three that I mentioned, let's say you know what's your other from number 4 to number 6 values of the things that you can put there. Who can tell me? I like to hear it. If I had time, I would have really loved to hear from everybody. But Elizabeth, I'd like to hear from you. What are your top 3 values apart from the 3 that I have mentioned that are that should be sacrosanct? Hello, Elizabeth. If you can hear me, you can just go ahead and answer if you can speak. Okay, Mesoma, if you can hear me, I'd like you to answer that question. Please remember that this class is physically, bodily, spiritually, mentally present. You're not supposed to log in and not be here. So make sure that you're here in truth. Mesoma, what are your top 3 values? Who can build a
Okay, good
car?
evening, ma'am.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead, my dear.
Okay, so I would say the integrity, being a person of integrity,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
also you've mentioned the other ones. So integrity, also ah, if I should say honestly, I think it also falls under that. So my core values integrity, then I'll come back. I'll give you the remaining two. I'll come back to you. That's just all I can think of for now.
Okay, that's all right. Integrity, definitely also one of my top 10 values. Now, if I ask you, now I want us to play a game very quickly. It's not a game, but okay, I think I have some comments in the chat. Okay, so there are 4 mentioned values. I said the top 3 should be, without a shadow of doubt, God. On the value system, God should be your number one value. So inside God, we have, building a relationship with Him and all of that. Then God's kingdom, talking about, partnering with God, making yourself relevant in the advancement of His kingdom. And the third one is God's purpose for your life. So your life purpose, all embedded in God. So top 3. So all of these things can be found inside of God. Every other thing then, continues on the list. So integrity on a scale of 1 to 10, everybody, I need you to respond. A scale of 1 to 10, how much integrity do you have? Esther, you number 1. Just put it in the chat for me. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much integrity do you have? Put it in the chat for me. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much integrity do you have? Very quickly, just give me a number on a scale of 1 to 10. Very quickly, everybody, I need everybody to type it in the chat. Guys, you guys need to move very fast. We do not have time. 7.5, okay. Listen, Elizabeth 6, great. Mesama 7, Michael 8, okay. Who else? Who else? Abigail, Joy, good. 8, okay. Who else? Who else? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much integrity do you have? I'm waiting for your response, Blessing. I'm waiting for a response Sunday. And would okay, Abigail, I would want to say 8. Abigail, politician. You have said 8. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, Blessing, how much integrity do you have? Sunday Daniels, how much integrity? Day, how much integrity do you have? 9, not to give myself hype. Okay, interesting. So we've got a 9, 8, 7, 7.5, 6. Who else? Who is the last person? I think that's Blessing. Blessing, how much integrity do you have on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay, so I'm going to ask you, Korede, why did you say 9? Why not 10? I'm just asking, no. Why 9? Why do you think your integrity is 9? You can unmute and speak very
Okay,
quickly.
so I'm giving myself 9 because I feel like it's only God that can give you the the overall score. So I don't want to give myself the complete score.
Okay, you're like Nigerian lecturers. It's just that you marked against yourself. Nigerian lecturers that will never give you full. Well, there's some lecturers that they'll say they don't used to get A in my course. Lecturers from the pit of hell. Okay, interesting. Okay, I'll come to you. Elizabeth, why did you say 6? By the way, when I was asked this question, I think I even said 4. I was trying to keep myself like humble because I didn't want to sound very proud that. Elizabeth, please go ahead. Why did you say 6?
Okay, good evening, Ma, and everyone. So the reason why I picked six was if I was thinking of taking five because I was like integrity. Do I really know what it takes to have that? So I'm like because I might do something like this is not good enough. So I already know where I'm falling short. So that's why I chose six. Give me five.
Okay. Bless, awesome. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. At least you even scored better than me when I graded myself. Blessing, 9/10. I strive to uphold that integrity. Or 9/10. Who are you for leaving the one for? Okay, you are leaving it to Jesus. Okay, so well, if you said 6/10, you're wrong. If you said 7/10, you're wrong. If you said 7.5, you're still very wrong. If you said 8, 9, and 9.5, my brother and my sister, you're still very wrong. Integrity is 10/10. It's not a fraction. You either have it or you don't. Do you understand me? You can't say I have 4.5. The moment you remove a percentage or a point from your integrity, you cease to be a person of integrity. Integrity is either you have it or you do not. I heard this and it blew my mind. You know, wait, you wanted to be humble. Well, if you understood, because integrity is not a fraction, it's a whole concept. It is a whole concept. It's not, I have it today, I don't have it tomorrow. I have it in some cases. I always tell people that if there is a reason why you think you do not qualify, to score yourself 100, whether you gave it to, okay, maybe I'll be merciful, not being merciful, but I could understand the person that feels like, okay, God judges at the end of the day, and that's your reason, makes sense. But if you sat down here and said, oh, I can't measure myself and give myself a 10, it means that you have a lot of work to do on yourself. Now, in my own case, when I scored myself 4, it was just me having a false ideology of humility. I didn't want to say 10/10 so that I'm not coming off as very bragado or anything, But there was also a part of me that felt, oh, okay, in this area, in this area, in this area, I may not have, not necessarily that I did not, or I was doing, things that were not in line with the standard of it, just felt so. But when I sat in that class and I heard this, from that day I have held myself, I once heard a very prominent man say that he holds himself by the highest standard of morality. Now, and that's how you should hold yourself as a leader. If you're going to be a transformational leader, integrity has to be intact. Look at what's going on in the political sector today. One man has literally turned, the face of politics and governance around in a country like Nigeria. One man, and that man is without prejudice to anybody and whatever you're supporting. I think this is very common knowledge to everybody because people have tried, they've investigated him, they have checked his record, they have looked for things to say that he did, and this man has come out unscathed, spotless, without spot, without wrinkle. But who is loading whiteboard? Please do not load whiteboard. Okay, I'm going to have to disable. Daniel, please remove your whiteboard. Additional Daniel. Okay. Okay, 1 second, please. I have to deactivate some features so we can get interrupted. Oh, Corredy, let me give you the host right so you can just deactivate some features while I focus. Okay, you can go ahead and deactivate. Okay, so back to it. So yeah, and that's imagine, having that as a record. Your leadership will not even be in question before people start wondering, getting worried about your ability to deliver. The fact that in your little closet or across your record, there has been, a pedigree of honesty. Okay, it's fine, Daniel, no offense taken. That already puts you on the pedal. I remember my dad so many years ago. My dad got a contract. He was not in the room when the contract was discussed. He did not lobby. He didn't even know that there was something like that being discussed. But because of his, reputation when he was doing like working in the corporate, somebody said if there's anybody you can trust with this contract, it's Sir Levi, and that's how the man was even retired at the time. And that contract came without, and there were people who had submitted, bids and everything for this particular contract, and it just landed on my father's laps just because of integrity. I'm not sure why I'm going in this direction. It's definitely not, the focus for today, but I think it's important that we also buttress it. If there's anything you're going to take from this class and you're going to teach the people that you'll be mentoring, tell them that integrity is 10 over 10. You either have it or you do not have it. It's not a fraction, it's whole. And the goal of everybody is to be able to hit that 10 over 10 mark when it has to do with integrity. If you ever have a reason to remove a mark from yourself, that means there's something that you need to work on. There's an area you need to work on, because we want to, at every point in time, when we wake you up and say, okay, they put the plaster of your life, we know that this guy is good, this guy is clean. All right, so that said, I will just move straight to and thank you everybody for participating in my little quiz. Okay, so last week we looked at identity and self-discovery, and we learned a lot on that topic. Like, I spoke from my heart very passionately, about that topic. And it's really just because, the problem of identity. In fact, every day I go on social media, I just shake my head and come out. Every day I still, and I'm so, it's so saddening, because you see this issue of identity crisis, or just people just living anyhow just because they do not have a sense of who they are. you know just hear some very, 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 very funny stories that you shouldn't be hearing with 21st century adults. And last week we touched on it, identity in the light of who God created us to be. We also learned that identity comes from God. We also learned that purpose begins with understanding who we are and all of that. Now, today we are going to be looking at, the topic. One moment, while I pull up my slide. So our topic today is purpose, vision, and intentional living. Let me know if you can see my slide.
Yes, we can, ma.
Awesome. Okay, purpose, vision, and intentional living, clarifying your why and translating it into a compelling life direction. So I may be going on and off the screen because I have some of my speaking notes stored somewhere. Yeah, but I hope that I can navigate. What am I doing? Okay, so now we have been able to, talk about who we are. I discover who we are. I don't know if anybody can tell me who they are, who was in class last week that can tell us who they are along. And, I hope you guys had some time to really just reflect on that topic, because if you're going to build to last, you want to know even, there are things you want to know before you even start to build, right? There are things you want to know before you start to build. I don't want to go off course. All right. Now, in terms of the learning objectives for today, and by the way, this is the last class I'm going to be having with you guys from next week, other facilitators. And we had to do a bit of reshuffling of topics. This topic was supposed to come later, but we realized that, from the flow, it's better it comes now because they're a bit tied together than, disjointed and all of that. That's why we had to bring it forward, and I had to do this topic again, right? But from next week, you're going to be having other facilitators, and I'm super excited to also to take the back seat and just sit down and learn. By the end of today's session, you should be able to understand the concept of purpose, vision, and intentional living, recognize the importance of having clarity and direction in life, identify personal values, passions, strengths, and experiences that can shape life's purpose. Understand how purpose can be translated into a compelling vision for the future. And you're going to learn practical principles for living intentionally and making purpose-driven decisions. Of course, all of this will be embedded in the conversation. First thing I need you to know is that contrary to the mindset that a lot of people are working with right now, which is the consumer mentality, people are basically living life right now. Some of you even signed up for this program because you heard there is the career development, entrepreneurship, grants, chemical, and all of those things. So you're basically here saying, can we move to that part where I start learning how to learn that? Okay, you're gonna get there, and trust me, and yeah, and it's not wrong to think that way, right? Because it's part of what makes us, humans. They need to, the basic need to survive. A Maslow's theory of, what was that? Maslow's theory, like Maslow's theory of what? Who can help me?
Of hierarchy.
My Maslow's theory of hierarchy, yes. So down at the base is the need for survival. So you're talking accommodation, you're talking feeding, you're talking clothing, you're talking all of those things. Those are very important because I don't care how passionate you are and how purpose driven you are. If you have not eaten, my dear, and you hear a lot of preachers say that no matter what's that thing, purpose without whatever will lead to frustration or something like a passion without money in your pocket will lead to frustration. It's true, very, very true. So it's important that you have all of those needs sorted, which is why I love this youth livelihoods and leadership program because it touches every aspect of life and survival. So yeah, and that's why it's important for us that you guys also get empowered to get like sustainable livelihoods, whether you want to build a career in your 9 to 5 or you want to really just build a career as a business professional. Yeah, but you weren't created to consume resources. That's not why God created any one of us, and but unfortunately, that's what a lot of people are living for: to eat, to breathe, to take up space, to, do, in fact, get as much as they can, gather your vessels, not a few. People are just living life to amass as much wealth as they can amass. And of course, backing it even with logical reason and sometimes scriptural money answered all is good and fine. I want to make a lot of money. Like for me, making money is not a want, it's a need. Making money is a need I have because there is so much I need to do in line with God's purpose for my life, in line with the mission that God has given us at YSAFs. There is a need to make money in dollars, thousands of dollars, millions of dollars because of the largeness of the vision, right? So, but if you're here and you probably have this mindset that, man, I need to be successful so that I can, live well, good, but that's not all there is to it. You were not created to be a consumer. God created us to become creators. God created us to become contributors, to add to life, to add to the earth, and not to just take from it. And that's the principle of sustainability. As you're taking from the earth, you better be giving back to the earth. Ponzi schemes fail. Why? Because they get help, they don't give help, or something. What was that thing that was it MMM or what? They get help, as long as people are getting, right? And they are not giving, the system crashes. The principle of sustainability is that you give to get. Do you understand? And when you get, you give. Things crash, visions crash, life, goes into extinction if there is a lot of giving, if there is a lot of taking without giving. Even your own life. If your own life is centered around collecting, or even in relationships, you don't want to be friends with somebody that feels like they're leeching on you. Every time you're the one invest, and it doesn't always have to be monetary. It can just be that you're investing a lot of emotions, a lot of your time, a lot of making a lot of sacrifices just to make the relationship. But after a while, you're human and everybody has an elastic limit, right? After a while, you get burnt out, and you cannot sustain whatever it is that is going on, and the person abandons you for the next person. Life is not created to function that way. That is why the entire life ecosystem, everybody is giving and getting back. You give the plant gives us oxygen, right? Yeah. And carbon dioxide comes back, the one that we breathe out, the plant takes it back, does this thing, gives us, or they just, that's how God created life to be. So if you're here, and that's the first thing I want you to tell yourself or be reminded of, that you're not here as a consumer, you're here as a contributor, you're here as a creator. Now, the thing about consuming is that God has made all of those resources available to us. Consuming is not wrong. I needed to understand that, but the primary purpose is not just to consume. You have to till the ground for even the plants to grow, right? And when the plants grow, you can then consume. You can't start consuming. That's why you cannot eat your seed. If you eat your seed, what happens? You won't have anything to nurture. You wouldn't have any, but when you plant your seed, delayed gratification, plant your seed, water it, grows into a tree, and a tree that can bear as many fruits and give you multiple seeds. But if you're focused on consuming, you'll be left with nothing to multiply. You'll be left with nothing to grow. Now, that brings us to the first question, which is, what is purpose? I know that a lot of us understand what purpose is. It's simply the reason for which a thing was created. It is simply the reason for which you were created. The purpose of a thing is the reason for which it was created. It answers the question, why do I exist? Why was I created? And what assignment am I here to fulfill? If I've ever sat down to ask yourself those questions, my brother, my sister, you're on the path of purpose, discovery, and fulfillment. At some point in your life, you should be able to sit down and ask yourself this question: why am I here? Why did God create me? What assignment am I here to fulfill? Now, that's when life will begin to make a little sense. I always tell people, and I also heard this in my journey of purpose, discovery, and fulfillment, about the essence of life. The essence of life is not that you just came. And I've always said, funny enough, as a young person, I always had that thought that my life, if life was that I will, God gave birth to me, that I'll go to school, I'll get a job, I'll get married, I'll birth children, I'll grow old and die. That cannot be all there is. When the clothes that I'm wearing is serving a purpose, covering my nakedness, do you understand? When the things I'm doing have like immaterial or material things, rather, in some case, depending on context, I could even say immaterial. When those things as little as that are serving a purpose, who am I? Like a homie that God invested time, resources, and talent to create, and created me and said, this is good, amongst many other things that he created. Then there has to be something about my life, that made God bring me here. We have no popular stories. Some people, Nelson Mandela, without a shadow of doubt, we can tell from his story that that man was created to bring liberation to South Africa, to bring an end to racism. Do you understand? Even though, yes, we're still having some, upheavals here and there in recent times. God help South Africa and Africa as a continent generally. But that man fulfilled his purpose. Mary Slessor that stopped the killing of twins, same. She may have been every other thing. And how that this is why they were created? Because this is the greatest news that you attach to their existence. And that's one of the things that you need to also start thinking about. When I'm old and gray and gone from the face of the earth, what is the greatest news of impact that will be tied to my existence? If there is no news of impact tied to your existence, then unfortunately you wouldn't have fulfilled purpose, especially to the fullest intent of God's grace, the fullest intent of God creating you. So you always have to think about that. Why do I exist? What did God create me to do? What's the problem for which I was created? Some of you have already answered this question, but there's still other things which I'm going to be talking about in the coming slides. Tunde Onokoya, the young man, wakes up and decides to start chess and slum. Otto Orondam wakes up and decides to start slum to school, Africa. There are so many of them. I always talk about Malala Yousafzai, her story, a young girl of how old, began to advocate for girls' right to education, got shot with the intention to be murdered, assassinated, God spared her life, and she has continued to remain a voice. for an activity globally now, not just in Pakistan. There are so many of them. Some of them have even lost their lives in, just because of this thing that they have discovered about themselves. But today we are enjoying a lot of benefits on that are bettered on the blood and shoulders of the people who came before us. So you need to start asking yourself these three questions. Why do I exist? Why? Why am I existing? And that's when you're able to answer this question, you're one step to stopping, you're one step to stopping to exist and to actually start to live. Because a lot of people exist through life and go, but God's intent is that you live through life and live making the greatest impact. Now, what purpose is not is the next thing I'm going to talk about, because a lot of people have different ideas of what purpose is. Building on the popular quote, I think this is like, the most popular quote around purpose. When purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable, by Dr. Miles Monroe. God bless his soul, rest his soul. Purpose is not your job title or your business. I think it was in the last class that someone was asking about the difference between a career and purpose, something along those lines. Yes, and that's a common misconception that a lot of people have. You ask them, what's your purpose? They tell that their purpose is to rise to the highest level in their banking career, or they'll tell that their purpose is to do one, very ambitious goal that is very, when you hear it and you don't have a solid understanding of purpose, you even clap for them and give them an award. Purpose is not your job title, that you're Doctor Who or architect this or, technician this. Does not necessarily, it's not your purpose at all, or your business that you have, importer, exporter, all of those things. That's not what purpose is. Purpose is not about money or wealth, it's not about money or wealth. A lot of people have tied purpose to money, and we can see how all of these things tie together. Purpose is not popularity or public recognition, because people think that they are living for public recognition. I want to become popular. Some people think that the moment you become popular, it means that you're doing something meaningful. Popularity does not necessarily mean impact. I think case in point, I always call him them. There are a lot of them like that. Well, again, I do not know, but there are a lot of celebrities, quote and unquote, that are just popular, but they are not necessarily making an impact in the society. They are not living a purposeful life. Purpose is not doing everything. This is another one that a lot of people fall for. You think that purpose is when you're busy, when you're running around, when you're getting involved in all the NGOs, when you're, serving in every society, when you're all up and about, you're busy doing. Purpose is not all of that. Purpose is not all of that. For money, I wrote that money can fund your purpose, but your money itself cannot become your purpose. Exactly. For example, popularity can become a platform to fulfill your purpose, but popularity in and of itself does not equate to purpose. You can be doing everything, but until you find that one thing for which God has created you for, you're not yet fulfilling purpose. And of course, your job title, as good as it is not your purpose. It's a platform. It can be a platform for fulfilling your purpose, but purpose in itself is not your job. Now, these are some of the things you need to look out for in your journey of understanding and discovering purpose. Now, when you want to understand or discover purpose, these are some of the elements that validate purpose. I came up with these things myself because, number one, these are the things that also helped me. And of course, I did a bit of research and I saw that through my assertion around it and my observation, these things were validated. The first thing you need to know about purpose, and you need to write it down, is that purpose is people-centered. But I wrote usually here, but purpose is always people-centered. If your own purpose or the dimension of your purpose is building system, it ends up impacting. What I mean by purpose is people-centered means that whatever you call your purpose has to be impacting lives, directly or indirectly. As a matter of fact, directly, it has to be, if it's not touching lives, if it's not touching a particular people group, that's probably ambition or passion or whatever. It's not purpose. Purpose is always people-centered. The thing around purpose, also the other side of purpose being people-centered, because Purpose always seeks how to, impact and improve the lives of people. It always seeks, so it's not just that it's people-centered. When we talk about it being people, it talks about always seeking to improve the lives of people. And that improve could be anything, but it makes the life of somebody better. It moves somebody's life from point A to point B, closer to, away from whatever level they were at before they came in contact with you, to where God wants them to be. It always, always improves. It always, always, always seeks to improve the lives of people. Purpose solves problems, whether it's a people problem or a systems problem. You're going to learn this much later in the Change Makers program. One of the things that topics that we're introducing, the different kinds of problems that exist. There are two kinds of problems that exist in a society, in an organization, in any system, or in any entity rather that you find yourself or that exists. It's either a people problem or a systems problem. So your purpose will have to be solving either the people problem or the system problem. Now, for us at YC, we're solving both, but we are moving. Our focus right now is to solve the people problem, right? The people problem. So this is where you're talking about, problems around, mindset, character, indoctrination, acculturization, some of those people issues, people, living in some kind of mindset, that are, marginalizing some set of people group, the dominance mindset around men, misogyny and all of those things. There are a lot of people problems, addiction, blah, blah, blah. And then you talk about the systems problem. That's where you now have all these, our healthcare system issues. But every system problem is caused by people. That's why the people problem should be the first problem you look out to solve in any, thing that you have identified as something that makes your heart beat. Always look to start from solving the people problem, because no matter how good a system is, if the people systems are run by people, and if the people running those systems are not whole, if they're not healthy, it doesn't matter how much good or how fantastic you have said. I'm a systems person. I know how to put systems in place. But more important than even putting the systems is getting the right people to man those systems, getting the right people to operate those systems, getting the right people to manage the system. That's why you cannot just go around and be building, different systems, apps, different. You have to solve the people problem first. You have to get the people to have the right mindset. You have to get the people to have the right ideology. You have to get the people to come at par with whatever it is that your own mind is thinking concerning that solution before you can hand over the solution to them. You understand? That's why they will tell you that if you carry all Nigerians, you think Nigeria is the problem, carry all Nigerians to the US or to Canada and bring all Canadians or Americans here down to Nigeria. In 3 years, I dare say that 3 years is even too long. Honestly, and I'm sorry, and that's why we want to solve this problem for the future of Nigeria. They say in 3 years or less, Nigeria will become a first world country, and US and Canada will become a third world country, because the country is not just made by the geographical location, or this is the people that make up the country. It's the people that make up the country. So that's why we need, the problem of Africa is more around the people, and is around leadership, the kind of people that we have. Little, of course, before we talk about this, of course, there is a systems problem. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. I've dwelled so much on that. The next one is that your purpose has to align with your strengths and natural abilities. Yes. Let's say, for example, fish out of water. When you want to, when you want to explain that something is out of order, or something is, just out of alignment, pretty much. You say this is like a fish out of water. The water is the natural habitat of the fish, and the fish will not have a purpose that will demand it to live on land. Do you understand? The fish will not have a purpose that will demand it to live on land. The fish's purpose will always, always, always revolve around its natural habitat. will always revolve. And now it's a relative statement because there's so many ways we can dissect that statement. But before this fish thinks of trying to solve a problem on land, has it finished solving the problem inside the water? Right. So you should always look around the things that complement your strength. I have this thing that I do. God naturally gave me the gift of speaking, strong communication skills. It has to happen. I have to have it to be able to do this sort of thing that I do. Strategic thinking, I have to have it to be able to build a successful organization. Critical thinking, leadership, team build, all those things. Some of those things, yes, you have to pick it up along the line, but also look towards your strengths and your natural abilities. The fourth thing is that purpose creates meaning and fulfillment. See, there are so many times I would not have 1 naira in my bank account. I will carry my last money and go and pay school fees. I remember the earlier years, my husband would just be like shaking his head, shaking his head. What did you say you're doing? I will finish spending all my money and I'll come and be asking him for money. Like, come, this woman, what did you even say you're doing? But thank God for him. He's also somebody that understands, God's purpose for our lives and everything. But and I will sleep well. I cannot sleep well if I keep that money in my bank account and I know that there is that problem to solve. In fact, till now is a struggle I still have. I'm learning a lot of financial discipline because one thing is that money does not control me. A lot of people have tried to tell me, Ivy, you need to think about even down to job. I'll say, guys, I'm not looking for a job that is paying. I just want a job that they say, you have to. I have friends who say you're too this purpose. You need to become a money-minded person. You need to think about how to make money from. I say that's not my first drive, but it's good to think like that. So now I'm beginning to learn how to put a lot of structures in place. But my point really is that when I do the things that I do that are in line with my purpose, I sleep well at night. Last week I was super excited. For 2 days, I was so elated after this session because finally we are doing this. And I like that we've brought this element into the Wise Tips program because I believe that this is it. This is how God wants us to build. And that's why I'm not particularly concerned about numbers because I know that the people who this is for will find it and will get value from it and keep staying. But it just makes me happy when I see a young person succeeding. What can I do to help? How can I don't care. I will do it and I'll be fulfilled. So purpose always creates a meaning, deep meaning and fulfillment. So if you're doing that and you're not getting that sense of satisfaction and fulfillment, satisfaction is a tad bit different from fulfillment, but this one is fulfilling. It just gives you so much peace and joy that even if you don't eat for 2 days, you don't notice. Purpose often emerges through burdens and convictions. Tell me about it. There's I always tell people there is purpose born out of pain. There's purpose born out of burdens. For me, White Sips came out of a burden, for young people because I mean, I can't come and start telling you that I grew up in the village. I was from a poor home. That's not the reality of my story. But I did see, the difference between a young person who has been given opportunities to excel and another young person. Case in point, where my brothers, there was a time my brothers Shell had this primary school in where that they started. My parents, thought it was a good school and put my brothers there. But then Alvan College of Education, and then I don't know the history, but I just know that my brothers, all the rest of us were going to Alvan, and then I had this brother that was going to Shell, and he wasn't doing well at primary two. He couldn't spell his name or his surname or so. I can't remember. Was it primary two or primary four? Well, my parents saw that this school, they work, or even if it's Shell that did it, they brought him and put him in the same school. And in one term, things turned around. And for me at the time, it was very significant. I was very young. I was probably 6. But that stuck because I remember that time they came back home and he was telling us the gist that how he spelled his surname as, one thing, and they kept on calling the owner of the book. And even him did not realize that it was his book and his name that they were calling until they went around and saw, okay, who has not gotten their book? And they now found that it was him. So that story stuck with me. I saw what difference giving a young person the right platform, the right opportunity, the right exposure, the right training, how we can literally transform somebody's life and put them on a better, surer trajectory to success. So yes, so it came out for me, my own came out from a strong conviction. And then it began to also become my lived experience because I embraced mentorship at a young age. And I saw how mentorship opened up doors for me, opened up rooms for me, matured me, exposed me to knowledge, a wealth of knowledge that I wouldn't ordinarily have because I was privileged to come into rooms, sit in conversations with that opened my mind a lot. And I said, okay, this is it. This opportunity I have, I think I can do what I can, to help the average young person in Africa. And you know how rich in resources Africa is, our human capital. Because if you ever have a privilege to go to the Western world, or do you see how much degradation has happened with the people? The systems may be working, but there are also innate decays with the people. But Africa seems to still have some good, even though we still are still fighting a lot of battles. Yeah, and then purpose survives difficulty. Now, this one is very clear. There will be difficult times, the hard days will come, but if it's really a purpose-driven venture, it has the capacity to survive the difficult stages. This is your life, because this is literally your life, so you cannot give up on it, right? You cannot give up on it. So purpose has a way of surviving difficulty. And then purpose grows through action. Yes, I always tell people that you will not figure it out all at once the first day you see it. Even till now, we are still refining and refining and refining. It gets better as you do it. But one thing about it is that until you take a step, you cannot begin to discover purpose until you begin to move. And I always tell people that purpose moves from the general to the specific, right? And that's one principle of purpose discovery that you should know. Some people say, how do I discover my purpose? I've been praying, I've been there. I tell them, start serving. Start serving. It's just like, for example, even when you're building a career path at the early stage after NYC, they'll tell you, don't go and say, I want to work in Shell. No, it's okay to have those goals, but they will tell you if you get any job, take it. As you're doing that one, you're picking up skills, you're refining skills, you're getting clearer. You're moving. I when I was in oil and gas, I love that organization because everybody that joined that organization would start from front desk. It was part of their training process. You do front desk for a couple of months, maybe 1 month, then they begin to move you from department to department. So I moved from front desk, I went to auditing. So I became an internal auditor. Oh, no offense to auditors, but definitely not a career for me. Please let me know if you're still following me. I feel like I've said a lot. Please put it too in the chat if we're still together and you're following and it's making sense. And please also call me to order if you can't hear me. I want to see in the chat. Are we following? Okay, I need more responses, guys. Thank you, Tosin. Thank you, Coride. Thank you, Abigail. Are we following? Are we following, guys? Great, great, great. Okay, okay. All right, moving on. Okay, I don't know, I've lost my train of thought, but yeah. So yeah, I was saying that purpose moves from the general to the specific. So you start from the general. Most times, for you too, that if you know that you're passionate about social impact or in called to the development space, it starts with volunteering. I had to do a couple of volunteering before I realized that this vision is not really aligning with me. I'm a very passionate person. So, but people do not understand. They ask me, why are you always very passionate? I said, meet me when I do not believe in that vision, or meet me when I was literally forced to join whatever it is. You will not believe that it's the same Ivory because you will push me, you will force me to attend every meeting, to be a part of it. And that's not how I like to live my life. So if I believe in it, if it aligns with my values, my vision for life, I run with it. So you move from the general to the specific, but until you start the generalization, you cannot specialize. Even in medicine, they start from the general medicine, then they now go into specialization. Even in the career, even in consulting, even in thought leadership, you have to find, you can be talking about a lot, and one day you now find that, okay, I'm niching down to this. But if you don't start even talking, you will not even be able to refine, because as you do, you analyze, you refine, you begin to cut down until you find your voice, find your message, find your calling, find your purpose, and you then begin to build. Right. So, yeah, purpose grows through action. Purpose creates impact beyond the present. And this is one point I want you to pay attention to. Today, this morning, which is why I have some makeup on my face, 2026 Luminary Award was today, and I was invited to, give some sort of speech as the outgoing 2025 award recipient. And this year, the theme for the TLP award is Building Beyond the Present. And it resonated deeply with me because one of the things that happened to us as an organization last year was we sat down and we reflected on the work we've done in the last 5 years. And we're like, are we really building to last? Are we really building for the future? Are we really building beyond now? Now, the White Steps Institute came up, and the institute is supposed to, of course, institutionalize the vision. The bigger goal is to build the White Steps, Leadership Institute. And by the grace of God, by the first or second quarter of next year, we'll be doing the groundbreaking ceremony for the physical structure. Somebody shout hallelujah, amen. Yeah. So, but with that, we had to sit down. How do we sustain this vision? Another thing that came out from this conversation was the Youth Leadership Council. And shout out to the council members who are here. And we're like, some of us, someone like me, I know that I'm not going to be executive director forever. We have to think the future. Who are the people that will carry this vision? It's simple. The young people that we are training, to lead. And from there, the vision for the Youth Leadership Council came up. And all of this is intentional. For those of you, and let those of you who are, working very closely with me, this is also how you build. This is always build with the future in mind. Don't build for the now. Don't, and that's one thing the white people know better than Africans. They understand delayed gratification. They understand, so they will spend their time. They can spend 3 years producing a movie, 4 years. Game of Thrones, movies like that the next season would not come out until another 3 or 4 years. But when it comes out, the whole world is standing, waiting for the next episode. I can never forget that movie, and a lot of other movies. They're not in a hurry. They're not like our people. Every 2 days, one new YouTube movie has come out. Now, I mean, everybody at their level, but if you're going to build something that will outlive you, you have to invest in the foundation of that thing. Don't be in a hurry to build so that, hey, people see that you're building. It's fine. Let people move ahead. Let people go ahead. No problem. The thing is that when you have built, your root has gone down. When you now start building up, the speed, that you used to build it, and you're very confident in the solidity of the structure that you have put together. Okay, now that's I've talked extensively about purpose. Just to tie it together, we're going to be talking about vision. A lot of people somehow do not understand the difference between purpose and vision, and all of that. So I've put here, basic definition of vision is the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination, wisdom, and clear goals. It is also the ability to imagine the future or a mental image of what something could become. I particularly like this second one, being able to have a mental image of what something could become. Now, this is what ties purpose and vision together, is that purpose, as fantastic as it is, without vision, purpose will not come to life. Purpose is raw material. Purpose is like raw material. You have a sense of, oh, okay, the potential. Okay, I see. Purpose is more about, okay, I have understood the why. Vision helps you to see beyond the why to the where and the how, right? That's the difference. So vision sort of puts purpose into action. Vision is what will help purpose come alive. It doesn't matter how big purpose is. Vision is what will help it come alive. Now, the importance of vision is that without vision, purpose remains abstract. Absolutely. Vision is what will help you bring that purpose into perception, into actionable step. Vision will give direction to your purpose. Vision will give you the focus that you need to actualize your purpose. Vision will help you decide what matters and what does not matter. Without vision, you will drift. I'm going to still come back to this. Without vision, your purpose is just what it is, purpose. Vision is what brings it into actualization. Vision is what helps you to bring it into perspective. Vision is what helps you to bring it and break it down into practical, actionable steps. Vision, produces focus. Oh my God, something is wrong. Where is my table? Oh God. It looks like I have deleted my table. Okay. Let me see if I can restore. I may have mistakenly deleted the slide that has the table comparison. Oh, dear Lord. I can't restore. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah. Okay, so I had a table on my slide, but it looks like I have deleted it mistakenly. I was trying to clean up my slide. Okay, but I'll just speak from my notes then. Okay, but I will promise to share. So we got the approval to share the slides. So you get the updated slide with the table. So the table is a comparison of purpose and vision in pictorial form. But I'll just speak from my notes because I put it down, thankfully, on my notes. I feel so sad about that. Okay, so I wrote here that whereas purpose and vision are connected, they are not the same. Can I carry on though? Are we still together? Can I move on? Give me a thumbs up if I can move on. I just have to move on without my slide for a bit. Please give me a thumbs up. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so vision and purpose are connected, but they are not the same. Purpose, on one hand, reveals your why. Vision reveals your where. Purpose is the reason for your existence, as we have established, but vision is the picture of the future your purpose is leading you towards. Now, purpose is you have understood the reason for your existence, but having a vision gives that picture of where your purpose is leading you to, what the future looks like for you. That's the difference between purpose and vision. Purpose is abstract, it's very vague, it's very big. Vision streamlines it and brings it down to something you can relate to, something you can actually work towards, right? And that's why in purpose fulfillment, for example, when you're trying to bring it down to actionable, execution, you can have a 1 year goal, a 3 year goal in line with the vision that you have seen. So, for example, I always share this story how I knew that YCIPS would own an institute. And I remember the early years when God began to speak to me about YCIPS, one of the dreams I had then. And in that dream, I walked into a premises, a big premises, and it looked like a school, right? And I saw YCIPS. Okay, I said okay. And then I went up to a school with different, I went upstairs and I moved from class. So the first class I went to it was like creatives. I saw people, I think it was acting, people were acting, some were singing music, rapping, different, entertainment show, different people. That was the first class I entered. Then the next class I entered, I saw like some guys, like IT guys, computer people doing their thing, the coding and everything. at the time code I had this dream, coding was not even a thing yet. It wasn't that popular. So I just know that it was a lot of guys on that computer doing stuff. I saw some robots, people like, okay, like making robots and stuff. The next class I entered, I saw like a catering school, culinary school, what it was like different dishes, African dishes, intercontinental, like different dishes. The fourth class I entered were fashion. I saw people making clothes, ah, and I was so fascinated. I was like, this is the kind of school I want to, this is the kind of thing I want to build for young people. We already have enough schools doing the English and maths and chemistry and all that. I want to build a school that will hone talents in Africa, that would help African talents develop, that can give them a space to nurture. Abroad they have those schools, right? So if you say it's dancing, that is your problem. They have the institute where you can go and learn to dance and become world class. You say it's, they're not, for years I lost that dream. I never really, now I can talk about it because it's something that is beginning to materialize. I never, so when we talked about education, why SIPs and education, we give scholarships till now. We have students on scholarship that we are sponsoring. We have also done some scholarship, funding in the past years and all. But every time I would always say and there have been conversations about, okay, maybe starting a primary school, but every time that conversation came up, and it was that sound good on paper. Okay, we can extend. It just makes sense that, okay, now you're sponsoring people through school. The next vision would be to, but I was saying, until it wasn't until October last year. I remember on my way to work that morning, just down at Demola at Tokumbo Road. I had this deep conversation with the Holy Ghost, and he said it's time to break grounds for YSIP's Leadership and Innovation Center. I said, hello, sir. What's that? What's that? Where are we coming from? And he flashed back that vision. I said it's time to build the institute. So long story short, so I'm not letting a lot out of the bag. And I don't even know how I got here, to be very honest. That vision, and we're like, okay, guys, went back to the team, went back, I said, it's time more. We don't, and it's a very big and audacious goal, very big and audacious goal. But, one of the things that helps, is purpose, right? But being able to see the vision, it came to me in a dream, but that picture, otherwise, purpose was my purpose, which is the next point I want to even bring up before I continue. Purpose says I was created to develop young people, or purpose says I want to solve problems. Vision says I see myself building systems that improve communities and create opportunities. So you see the difference. Purpose is very big and abstract. I want to solve problem, but vision is what makes it actionable. I want to help people. I want to develop people. Vision says I see myself raising transformational leaders in Africa. Now there is direction to that purpose. There is vision tied to that purpose. So it's not just that I want to develop people. I know who I want to develop. I know, the geographical location and all of that. So vision gives direction to purpose. Without vision, purpose will remain abstract. Without vision, purpose will lose focus. We don't even have focus. Without vision, people will drift. People will drift. So one of the things that you should be taking out of this class today is, God, I understand my purpose, but I need to see the vision. I need to see the vision behind it. I need to see it. I need to see it. I need to see it. God, even when he was creating mankind or creating the world, I'm sure there was a purpose to it, but he had to visualize the kind of world he needed to create to now say, okay, I've seen it. I know what I want to do. Let there be light. The processes began to come into place. Let's create a garden for man. Let man till it and blah, 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 blah. And today life is what it is. So it is important that you have and understand vision and put, your purpose down into actionable steps. Okay. And just as I begin to wind down, I think the last thing I want to talk about is intentional living. So because the last thing we talked about is purpose, intentional living, and your vision. Now, where it all ties in together is that, there's power in knowing why you exist. That's the first starting point. Purpose is fundamental. You need to know why you exist. You need to know why you exist. It's important that you know why you exist. If you don't know why you exist, you're going to be moving, without any clear direction. You're going to say yes to every opportunity that comes. You're going to say yes to everything, and you will burn out without a sense of fulfillment. You're going to be distracted by a lot of things. Now, understanding that you're a man and woman of purpose, you understand that you're a man and woman of vision. What now brings it home is how you live your life. They always say, one analogy they always give about purpose fulfillment, and this is what this intentional living really speaks to. A pregnant woman does not live anyhow. The moment I heard I was pregnant, I don't do alcohol as well, but I do take red wine, white wine sometimes, not a lot or not all the time, but we have it in the house, can serve guests, and sometimes maybe when I really just feel like I do a glass, maybe or two, and just you know. But the moment you hear, Madam, if you go enter, every red wine shelved, every white wine shelved, every you just become more intentional because you're carrying seed that you cannot afford to miscarry. Now, that's what happens with a man and woman of purpose. It is, and I needed to listen carefully because this is what separates Peter from Paul. This is what separates one from another. Everybody who understands purpose, everybody who has a vision for life, you have all of those people, but only a few are able to achieve their life's purpose to the highest level of God's intent for their lives. What's the difference? Intentionality. So I have seed, just like you have seed. God has put it in every male or female. God has put seed in us. And that seed is the purpose that He has put inside of you. You probably even understand the vision. You already started, you already have a clear picture. Now, the difference between whether that vision and that purpose will be fulfilled is how you carry that seed, how you live. That is where a lot of values. When we started, we talked about the values because this is what is holding most of us down. This is probably what is holding most of you down. You have all those big dreams, but you do not have the discipline of execution. You don't have the discipline of intentional living. Now, let me tell you how this thing plays out practically. The moment you understand that this is what I'm carrying, your friendship is one of the first things. You want people that are going in the same direction that you're going. You want people that are speaking the same language that you are speaking. They say that, if you have 5 rich friends, it's just a matter of time you become the 6th rich one. Very true. The power of association is a thing. God told Saul, when you come in, was it Saul? King Saul, yeah. You come into a company of prophets, you will be turned into another man. And it happened. As a person, there is your company of prophets that you need to align with in this part of destiny, because everything I'm saying to you is destiny. That's why some of you that God brought into my life, very wise saves, or I have those relationships at the top. I have it at this level, and I have it here. I am very aware of how and why God brought these relationships, and I'm intentional with nurturing them. The way some friendships or some relationships or some connections have been made, that is the same way some of them need to go. You know that you cannot be Netflixing and chilling. I did my PMP. I was studying. I'll come back from work. I've turned on to YouTube and all my videos, my learning materials, I will watch them. Sometimes I'll sleep off watching them because I have a goal. Imagine that I want to write PMP. I'm not, and that exam is hard. Hey, let's nobody deceive you. If you ever want to write it, you better go study so that you can write it in one sitting and pass. But I did the things I needed to do. Most times, if I come back from work, I'm usually overstimulated. So sometimes the only way I know to shut down, is like I'll carry a book or I'll just tune a movie in and then I'll sleep off watching it. It always works, But all those things had to give way for me to study because I had one goal. I cannot pay 600,000 again. I cannot, even if I can afford it, I cannot. I have to pass this exam in one sitting. And then what else did I do? Join study groups. Intentional, join study groups, because it's called Ubuntu, the strength of many. All for one, and together we united we stand, Abby, divided we fall. Yeah. I joined study groups. I was watching a lot of things, attending a lot of webinars, doing a lot of this, right? Intentionally putting myself where I needed resources that will help me achieve that goal. And I had to do away with a lot of things that period. That's how you have to imbibe discipline. You have to imbibe discipline. You will not live your life randomly. You cannot go and be buying bone straight with your 200,000 naira salary. You're buying bone straight. When you do not have certifications, when you have not done trainings, what are you doing with bone straight, my dear? Those of us wearing bone straight now can afford it very well. Even me that could afford it with my salary, there are a lot of things. Till today, I'm using an iPhone 10 XR, and there's no pressure to change it because it's still serving me. I don't know what people use big phones to do. I like the idea of having a big phone, maybe for content creation, and probably when I now feel up to it, I'll probably get one. But I'm not even moved. I have achieved a lot of things in my finances, more than the people carrying even the latest 17, because there is more to life than all of these things that we see. You have to be intentional. There's something about people that delayed gratification is one thing. You have to learn to delay it. You have to invest in the things that will give dividend, lasting dividend. You have to. Leave the phone. You will buy those phones, and in fact, you get to a point where you will not need to spend a dime to buy it. People will be gifting you, people that you have impacted their lives. On your birthday, they will celebrate you like Queen Elizabeth. Things that you used to be a prayer point, you will not, even because you have done more, you have invested in something more tangible. You have become a person of value. Now you're struggling to probably acquire those things because you're trying to buy more than you can chew, because you're out of alignment, because you're not thinking in terms of intentional living and impact. Let me tell you something, intentional people live differently. They understand that every day is moving them towards a destination. As a result, they are careful. You're careful about what your relationships, you're careful about your habits. I always tell people that this exercising is not just for weight loss. You need to exercise so that you can be fit mentally to do the work. When I started running YC, that's when I knew that purpose fulfillment is not for lazy people. Hey, because you will stay awake to think, to strategize. You will stay awake to write contract. You will stay awake to write document. You will stay awake to think. If you're a lazy person, you can't fulfill purpose. Where do you get that mental agility from? You have to invest in your mental, it's not mental health. You have to invest in yourself, your capacity to think, even in your physical strength. I'm telling you, in your physical strength. And that's why I recommend exercise a lot, because exercise doesn't just do your body, your mind, everything. Those oxytocins that are released helps you. Oh, you have to invest in your spirit. You have to build capacity all around, physically, spiritually, mentally, financially. You have to be intentional about growing. That's why whenever I have this, I look at the people in the room and I'm like, I know this person will go far. I know this person without a shadow of doubt, because success can be replicated. It is simple. What is the template for success? Go and do it. The template is discipline above all, consistency above all. You're careful about how you spend your time. You cannot spend your time on TikTok. What are you doing on TikTok morning till night? Till today, I do not have TikTok on my phone. I say that I do not have X. What's it called? Twitter. I do not have it on my phone. Instagram is already too much. Facebook is there because probably it came with the phone, or Facebook has been, but I don't even remember the last time I went there. LinkedIn, even in the last 3 months, I haven't been very well, even though for good reasons, my exam and all that, I needed to focus and a lot of other things that were happening. Now I'll be back. But LinkedIn is probably the only platform that if I want to invest myself now, I will invest. And then maybe now that I have a bit of time for thought leadership conversations and some other ministry-based conversations, I can resurrect my Instagram, but podcasting and stuff. But What am I doing on? I know TikTok is good, guys. I'm not saying, but I'm saying if you're going to be on TikTok, you better be a contributor, not a consumer. Remember how we started? You better be a contributor. You better be a creator. People should better be entering TikTok to watch your content, to feed off your content. That is how you make impact. You don't make impact by consuming, you make impact by contributing. And if you're spending your time consuming and no time creating, your life can never amount to anything impactful. Money will not find you because there is no value you're giving. The people that you're feeding off are the people that have invested in themselves, that have spent time creating. So you're consuming, consuming, consuming. You're laughing, ha ha ha, oh, ha 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 ha, who, ha ha ha. They are cracking you up. Oh, when God has put so much on the inside of you that the world is, and the thing is that the world is waiting for that value that you have, earnestly waiting for that value that you have. Or you're there consuming when you should be creating, and you're wondering why you don't have money. Money flows in the direction of value. If you do not know that, I'm sure you've heard it. This is not the first time of hearing. Money flows in the direction of value. The moment you start creating, and that's why if you know how to give value, hey, money will find you. Maybe not in the early stages, but stay there, stay on that path. Money will find you. Stay true to your calling. Money will find you. You become careful about how you expend your energy. You don't go about spending energy gisting. There are some conversations you finish having, you feel so drained. Do I have a witness? There's some, do I have a, it has happened to me. There's some people you finish spending time, please, if you just feel drained. You feel like you have lost value, like 20% value or 30% value. You now have to go and wind your engine again to rebuild. So those things, you don't have any business losing those, but there's no time. Night cometh when no man can walk, and now it's time to work as fast as you can walk. When you have the strength of youth. Is it when you're old and gray and doing at that point, let it be the wealth you have amassed that is doing the work, because you have done the leg work. And as God gives you strength, you can still cover the ground. So you have to guard guard your environment, guard who you're listening to. There's this cartoon my children watch that talk about private space. They call it a bubble. You cannot just enter somebody's bubble without their permission. And that's true. You better create a bubble around you and guard your bubble, because it's not everybody that comes around you that has if had good intentions for you. It's not everybody that comes that has good. You better go and align yourself with the people that will continue to motivate you. Then your decision making, you have to be careful about the kind of decisions you're making. This is where mentorship comes into play. You can't just go and make decisions based on your gut feeling. I feel like. You have to be making very logical, intentional decisions and follow through. Make very logical, intentional decisions. This is where mentorship comes in. The mentorship has helped me, has been a blessing. I tell people I'm a product of mentorship. I have people that speak to me, people that guide me, people that counsel me, people that I go to and I say, please, I need clarity on this, because nobody holds monopoly of knowledge. You have to be careful about all of this, because you understand that destiny is often hidden inside your daily choices. I want to fulfill destinies, not by talk. Your destiny is in the daily choices you're taking. Many people want extraordinary future, but you're maintaining ordinary discipline. It has to be extraordinary. You have to go the extra mile. They say go a mile, you say I'm going 2, 3. Yes, you can't get an extraordinary future doing ordinary things. Never. If you want an extraordinary future, you better put the extra in the ordinary. That is how you get extraordinary results. If you want to be an extraordinary person, a young transformational leader, you have to put the extra in the ordinary things you're doing. You have to go the extra mile. You have to make those extra decisions that the average young person is not making. You have to learn to save. Hey, you're not too young to save, but this is a story for another day. This is a story for another day. You build your purpose through your, like, you have to be consistent above all. You have to be very disciplined. Oh, I don't know how to I can't overemphasize this enough. You have to be a disciplined person. Do you understand military discipline? I did a training once, history makers training. And in that training I did, that's the name of the Institute of National Transformation. That's the name of the institute. I attended the training so many years ago. And that particular program, they call it History Makers Training. One of the videos that we watched different videos, was how the US SEALs, Navy SEALs, how they are trained. My brothers, my sisters, if you can find a documentary on how US Navy SEALs are trained, go and find it and watch it. You want to make history, you want to make history and you think it's by sipping bread and butter, eating shawarma. No, now. Please, if you can find it, go and see how. And I don't think you would easily see that, because that one is that they entered their training like a live documentary. And I don't know if it's public, whatever. But if you can just solve, what are you even looking at when you go to YouTube? These are the kind of things that you should be watching. You see how the Navy SEALs are trained. That's why those guys, when they hear, as in, they are very precise. They don't need to be 10 to go for a mission. They're usually not a crowd. They don't need to be 10. 5, enter Nigeria, bring out the people that kidnap. They will even go, you don't even know that those kind of people entered your country and left. You will not know, because of how they have been trained. You have to help yourself to military degree training. That's how you have to help yourself. Military degree training. And you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. You know what consistency does for you is that as you continue to build consistently, it just helps you begin to clarity, growth, growth. Even the scripture talks about gaining mastery. Who by reason of use have gained mastery. As you continue to do it, you gain mastery over it. After speaking to one of the people that came to me said, "My goodness, you have a way with words." Like, oh wow. She said, "You know how to hold an audience." There are a lot of people that spoke. And the truth is that even when I came down, I didn't think that was my best delivery. But somebody having to say, "You have it," I could not stop this. And I didn't speak for up to maybe 7 minutes. I have done this over and over and over. There are sometimes I've spoken and I remember I say, I flogged myself, Ivory, if you try this dropping the ball thing you did today, every chance you get, hit it. If I learned this one as a music minister, I remember my music director saying, when you're giving the mic to lead worship, hit as though you have only 2 minutes. Like hit it as in go straight to the point, as though you only have it's only that first song you sing. The heaven has to open in with that first song. Some people sing different songs. Maybe they need by the fifth song that their anointing will now. They say we don't have time for fifth song. It has to fall from the moment you say, "Father, we thank you." What do you think makes that kind of thing happen? You go to the secret place and, my friend, go and wind your engine. Go and put fire on the altar. Do you understand? That's how you do it. Go and put fire on the altar. It's not on the stage that you want to start doing preparation. No, preparation is done at the backstage, man. It's done at the backstage so that when you come to the field, you shoot at precision. So this is a time for you to go and begin to sharpen your axe. Don't be in a hurry to become visible. I tell people premature visibility can destroy you. There's some of you, the visibility you're trusting God for, you're not ready for it. Spend time investing in your foundation. Spend time building. Spend time investing in that one that people are not seeing. So that when the building begins to rise, nothing can shake it. They say, where is this magnificence coming from? Don't be in a hurry to be visible. There is time for everything. This is a time for you to build your roots. Go down. And please, if you're in a profession, one of the things I want you to know, I'm the kind of person that if you're around me, you cannot be mediocre. The way I push and for me, the truth is that I had a lot of yo-yo periods in my life, right? Because by now, so there were a lot of seasons and then I got married and, my career I had to put it on hold because I had the covenant, with an agreement that our children come first, especially when the babies start coming, But even as I was putting it on hold, I still remember the first project that Y-SIPS did. I was not there physically present because was I? I wasn't. The first back to school project they did, I was not. That day was the day they circumcised my son, so I was at home. But the project had happened. You have to, I don't know who I'm talking to, and I don't know why I'm speaking so passionately about it, because I can come and tell you all the things that you hear in seminars, but this is the way I know. This is the way I know. I do not think I'm perfect, but I know that there's been a bit of traction enough to be able to guide. But on this matter of purpose fulfillment, you have to guard this seed that God has put on the inside of you. You have to nurture it. And then I will wrap up because it's almost time, so I can take questions if there are any. One of the things I wrote here in my notes is that small daily decisions eventually become a life direction. Very true. Small daily decisions, that your decision to, say, I need to read one more chapter of this book. That decision, that one more chapter that you read will give you a wealth of knowledge that you would have missed in the last 1 hour watching Netflix. So you have to be intentional with the decisions you're taking. They have to be very calculative, very calculated. I don't let anyhow people come into me. I don't even have a lot of friends. I don't have it. In fact, if you say all my friends, we all look alike. I don't have a lot of friends. I'm not hungry for friendship. I don't need validation. I don't. I'm so secure in myself. I don't know how to explain it. I'm so secure in myself. I do not need your. I know who I need, and I know and if I discover that this is who I need, I make it as I invest in that relation. And that's one thing people also need to learn. Learn to invest in relationships. Learn to, because those relationships will not be there forever. You better hone them while you still have them. People grow. And if you're not growing, some of your relationships can outgrow you. The next thing you see that you now need the appointment to be able to see this person. Even as a mentor, there are mentees that if you say, I want to, I say, come, whether no matter how he's doing me, I will always give them access because these ones are value adding mentees. There are some I'll say, I'm busy. Please, if you're my mentee here, I beg, no vex, it's not you. That's some genuinely, if I'm busy, I'll tell everybody I'm busy, right? But I'm saying that there are some people that you can't say no to because of how much value they bring to your life, whether as mentees or as mentors or anything. Now, one of the things I needed to know about purpose is that you do not need to see the entire staircase before taking the first step. Start taking the step. There is this cartoon I watched that, they needed to move from one, is it mountain or one thing to the other. And they said the only way to is basically the lesson there was on faith, on taking the step. And the only thing that the moment the boy stepped in faith, the steps started showing. Do you understand? With each step he took, the steps started showing. That's how it is. Just take the first step first. Don't need to see everything. Just take the first step in obedience. As you're taking it, God begins to review, begins to review, begins to review. So one some of the questions to ask yourself as I begin to round up. What are the practical questions you can ask yourself is about purpose, building your vision, and all of this. Number one, what burdens my heart deeply? What are the things that burden my heart? If you can genuinely answer that question, what are the things that burden your heart? Let me even bust your bubble. Some of the things you think are your purpose right now are not. Sorry to tell you that. You need to go back and ask questions again. Now, for you, it's the whole general. You now need to narrow it down to what it really is. So, like the layers of onion, begin to peel. The 5 why, they will tell you the 5 why analysis of getting to the root cause of everything. Why did this happen? Why? You have to ask why 5 times and as many times as possible till you get there to the root cause. What are the problems that move you emotionally? Those are the things, those problems that can make you cry. What are those things that move you emotionally? Emotionally, like you feel it in your heart, or you just feel the need to. It makes you feel emotion. Maybe the emotion could be anger, the emotion could be pain, the emotion could be whatever, but it just moves you to the point that you're emotional about it. And another one side of the emotion, that the emotion is joy. When you see, oh, this person achieved this thing, that's a pointer that's something you need to build on, help people achieve so that you can feel more joyful. Ask yourself, what impact do I want to create in life? What's the legacy I want to leave? What do I want to be remembered for? My mommy did not have an NGO, but I remember, just like Dorcas in the Bible, when she, passed on, a lot of widows Say, who will give us rice? That's bag of rice. Lady Julie is dead. Who will do this? You will do this. You will do this. And I still have a vision to immortalize her, and in the coming years I'll do so. But those are some of the seeds that also were perhaps transferred to me. She may not have stopped third World War or anything, but she did made impact in her own little corner. All those widows in the village, who will that people neglected that my mom would think of, that I would see this woman use her last time. Oh God bless, rest her soul. I'm grateful for the picture, for the examples that I had in front of me. Then you ask yourself about your strengths. Then one question, what are the things that make me come alive? What kind of room do I find myself? Let me tell you a story. I recently resigned my job. I used to work with a consulting firm. I work in the edtech space, and I worked with that company for 2 years plus. And then I just like every time I had to make a transition, I just started feeling a sense of dissatisfaction and unrest. And at this point, I just knew that it felt like it's time for me to move. I think that my time here is done. I've served my purpose. And that's another thing you need to know, that God brought you into that space does not mean it's forever. You should always know how to walk with God, to know when the cloud moves so that you can move with the cloud, you know. Then, I think my last 2 weeks to my last week of working, Fabia, who is the board chairperson of YSIPS, invites me for this very intimate brunch with, organized by Sisters in Development, lunch with the elders. And I mean, thankfully, I was working from home that day, so I was able to attend. And I sat in that event. I was grinning from ear to ear. It felt like home. I don't know how many of you have felt like that before. Maybe it felt like this is where I need to be. Do you understand? It felt like fresh water from the spring, not the one in bottled water. It felt like I was breathing life. Oh, thank you, blessing. You just know that, oh, this is the room. This is where I'm supposed to be. And that event was for 2 hours, 30 minutes thereabout. But I went home, I kept on thanking. I said, Fabia, thank you. And for me, that was the conviction I needed, because I'm a woman of purpose, like I tell you people. The moment I lose joy, the moment, no, 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 no. You can't find me 1 second there. So find those environments that make you come alive. Find those relationships. Find those spaces. What are those spaces that call out the super, I don't know, not superwoman, but what are those spaces that call out the you that makes you you? The you that you're very happy to, what are those environments? Then what kind of change do you want to see in the world? Honestly, I think for me, the biggest change I want to see in the world is that people just have a sense of responsibility. People can just behave well, do the right thing. It's very exasperating for me, when I just see people, like, I don't know how to explain it. There are so many things that make my head, and it's not like I'm not insufferable or anything, but I just desire a world that is functioning, where people are doing the right thing without. Do we even need law enforcement agents? We wouldn't need them. Everybody is just doing the right thing. I picture a world where, whenever I think of the Western world and Africa, and I see that abroad people don't even care about going to university, because by the time they are done with high school, they have so much knowledge. They can build different things. So college is like, I remember when my best friend traveled to the, he said, I me that is in college, I'm like a god. Me that is studying, like, these guys don't care about in college, it's only us that care about it. By the time they are done with high school, they are already so mature, so exposed, so everything. Now things have changed though, so everybody is going to college and all. But a society where things are working, the Nigeria of those years, when my uncle, I still remember my uncle and my father, by the time they were done with secondary school, Shell had already come to go, and people already had jobs. University rather, people already had jobs waiting for them. All they needed to do was graduate, come for interview, and start working. A society where there's education, everything is just working. I'm not asking for too much. I'm not asking for us to build robotic ecosystems or jets flying in the air. All those. That's not what. Like nature, I'm a nature girl. I just want a system that is working. Is that not everybody's dream? Okay. Now, just to wrap this up, I wrote, and I'm just going to read it as I wrote it. And I hope that you listen. You can, yeah, just read it because I think it's better that way. So I wrote here that your assignment may be hiding inside the thing that you cannot ignore. We've established that. For example, and I use biblical examples, Nehemiah was burdened by the broken walls. Yes, he was so burdened that he had to go and tell the king, allow me to go and rebuild it. Moses was burdened by the oppression of the children of Israel that he had to mistakenly, it was unintentional, but it did happen, kill somebody. Jesus was moved by compassion. He would not see one sick person and not want to heal them. So wherever you're being drawn to is revealing the direction of your life's purpose. So think about it deeply. What are those things? What are those things? And ultimately, God did not create you to merely exist. You were created intentionally, you were created for purpose, you were created for impact, you were created for kingdom significance. The goal is not merely to have dreams. No, don't dream. When you dream, wake up, my brother, my sister. Dream. It will only remain a dream until you wake up and start living it. Oh. Dream does not build institutions. Dream does not fulfill purpose. Dream, no matter how much, is when you can wake up after dreaming. Please start to work. The goal is to build a life that reflects God's purpose, because the most fulfilling life is not necessarily the easiest life. Of course, it's not, because this part, and that's one thing I needed to know, is a difficult part. Comes with a lot of sacrifices. It comes with a lot of sometimes pain. It comes with sometimes it comes with a lot. But one thing that it brings is that sense of fulfillment. One thing that it brings is that pat in the back, you know the most fulfilling life is a life lived on purpose. Remember what I said, that the essence of life is not just living life, but living life to impact the life of another person positively. So, as I bring this to a wrap, one question I want you to ask is, whose life is getting better because of your existence? Ask yourself that question. Whose life is getting better because of my existence? Whose life is getting better because of my existence? Again, whose life is getting better because of your existence? If you cannot answer that question, I want to challenge you to go back and ask God to just help you. Whose life is getting better because of you? And by better, another thing is, when you're now working, you need to do deep work, not the surface level work, not the shallow work. Whose life is getting transformed, truly and genuinely transformed? Because who can say, thank you, God, for blessing? Thank you, God, for Elizabeth. Thank you, God, for Damilola. Thank you, God, for Janet. Thank you, God, for Joy. Thank you, God, for Esther. Thank you, God, for Akomolafe. Thank you, God, for Ola. Thank you, God, for Korede. Thank you, God, for Abigail. Who is there somebody saying that because of you? Is there somebody saying that prayer? Say, Lord, preserve them. Whose life is getting better? Who is that person that is grateful to God for your existence? Not because of the 1 million in your bank account, but because your life has been a tremendous blessing. So because of you, their life has become better. Because of you, who is saying that about you? And this is what purpose is about. If one person, and let me tell you don't need 1,000 million people. It's only one. One. I always tell people, purpose fulfillment is one. Start with one. It's only one, no, one. It's only one that you need to start with. And then, according to God's design for your life, because God says, the little shall be 1,000, and the little shall be 1,000, and the mighty one, right? A great nation. Yes. So the goal is a minimum of 1,000, but start with one. They say that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. Little drops of water make a mighty ocean. If you do not start with one, how will you know how to handle two? If you do not start with one, how will God trust you with 5, 10? If you're not faithful with one life, how will God trust you with 100? The problem is that many of you want to start with 100. You have not built capacity for 100. You build capacity for 100 with one, with 10. Do you understand me? It's not with 100. Nobody starts building with 100. Even when Jesus was calling his disciples, it was one like that before he gathered all 12 of them. And all he needed was 12. In fact, it's called the principle of the G12. In mentoring, me too, I use the principle of the G12. I do not take more than 12 mentees per time, per cycle. That's the Jesus model for me, and that's what I use. I know that I do not need to mentor 1,000 people. If I can invest myself in 12, these 12, exponential growth. Imagine 12 have their own 12. That's 144. 144 have their own 12, and it all started from one man, So you don't have to be the one reaching 1 million directly, but you can reach one. One man reached out to one Billy Graham, and Billy Graham reached out to millions on the world. So you can be that one. You can have your Billy Graham. The point is that who is that one person that their life is blessed, that their life is getting better because of your existence. With this, we've come to the end of the session. I hope that you got value from this session. Thank you very much for staying till now. And I think I hope we got something though. And I'll just pass the mic back to Korede. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them as we wrap this up. Over to you, Korede. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Ma, for this great teaching. It's really impactful, and I have personally learned a lot. And to everyone online, if you have questions, kindly put it up in the chat box so we can address that. Yes, thank you, Damlola. Please kindly drop your. Okay, thank you. Thank you. If you have questions, kindly drop them in the comment section so we can answer the questions before we go off. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Ma. So everyone who is yet to identify their purpose, I hope with this teaching, with what we've heard this evening, we'll be able to go back to our closet, think, pray, and ask God to show us the vision behind our purpose. Yes, yes, blessing. This is indeed a masterclass, and it's very powerful sermon. Yes, thank you so much, Ma. If you have questions, kindly put it up so we can address that before we go off. And also, if you're here to find your attendance, the link was dropped in the chat box. You can go for it and then fill up the attendance. If you have questions, kindly put it up. You have 3 minutes to do that, while I also put up the link for attendance again. Okay. You have 2 minutes. And also, I'm going to be putting up.
There's a hand up, Korede.
Okay, I didn't see that. Okay. What's the question? Who is that? Yes, okay. Can you put up the question there in the chat, but we read it out?
No, he can speak, in case.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Unmute yourself, please.
All right. Thank you very much, Coredy. And thank you so much, Miss Ivory. I mean, this was a lot. It was a lot. It was as if this was actually very, very timely. It was very, very timely. My question is this, for example, I run an organization, and when I started the organization, I think I mentioned it some time ago that please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go on.
All right, when I started the organization, I didn't start like someone who had it all figured out. I mean, I started as someone who didn't have an idea of how to run an organization. But then I just decided to take that leap of faith. But then I realized that 1 year in and some months after, I mean, for like a year, we were able to run the organization successfully. I mean, it got to a point that I was doing all kind of things in the organization. I was handling a lot of responsibilities, and it led to kind of burnout. But then at some point, I figured out, and I think that was during time we started having YSIP's Change Makers program. And I think during that, we learned something about leadership and delegation and all that. So I started delegating. However, 1 year in now, I've noticed that the momentum we used to sustain, that we're sustaining throughout last year, is no longer the same momentum that was sustained this year. In the sense that it has decreased. I figured that maybe they are no longer passionate, or maybe it's just like a skill gap or a knowledge gap. Because at that time when I was delegating, truly I delegated according to their strength. Okay, this is what I think this person can do, and okay, and I asked them what else can you do. But then I figured out that now it's as if the momentum has decreased, and as if I don't know. I've gotten really confused too. But I've got to the point where I'm not really confused as, okay, do I need to organize a seminar? Do I need to call in someone that will take us a session on leadership? Or is it that they don't understand the vision enough? They don't understand the mission enough? And that's just where that's the point where I am right now. I'm just really at that point where I'm just really confused that, okay, do I need to take them through a whole session? Okay, then I need to say, okay, let us stop running for some time. We need to go on a leadership retreat. So everybody know that we are not doing what we're supposed to be doing, no. Or I don't know. I don't know what else. I just really think that's where I am right now. I'm just really confused, and it's really taking a toll on me. Although I dedicated, I told myself at the beginning of this year that I want to be committed to building this organization. I want to be committed, but then it seems as though the people around me are not seeing that particular thing that I'm seeing. And I think it's worthy of note that I had that they're also students. So I'm thinking too that maybe they have other commitments outside my organization. And I can't get to a point where I start hearing them that you have to do this, because for a fact, these people are volunteering, they are offering their time, they're offering part of their skills and their and their resources to support this. So that's just where I am right now. And I think I need clarity on that aspect.
Okay, thank you so much for bringing that question up. Very important. So one of the things that you need to understand when you're working with volunteers, there's something called volunteer burnout. It's just like founders burnout, right? If you're building anything on the shoulders of volunteers, two things you need to do. You need to constantly sell the vision to them. Even me as a founder, even with Y-Sips, I experienced that if I'm not communicating consistently with the team, the trail goes cold, because nobody would drive that vision as strongly as you would, especially in the building phase. You have to always sell the vision. You have to always, re-emphasize the mission and the vision so that they see that they're part of something meaningful, right? If you're not doing that consistently, there are a lot of other things that tugs at them, right? They are volunteering here. There are a lot of other things that can take their attention, and they're innocent. Their intention is not to leave or to grow cold or to become, whatever, passive. It's just that there are a lot of things competing with their attention. So it's just like even when you want to sell a product, or when in the principle of marketing, they'll tell you that it's not the best product that sells the most, it's the best, the most talked about product. That's the principle of visibility. So the one that is in your face, the day you want to buy something, the one that comes to your mind is the one that has been constantly in your face. So you have to constantly sell the vision to them. You have to constantly meet with your team, especially at this early building phase. You have to constantly sell the vision to them. You have to constantly validate their contribution. You have to tell them how much their contribution means to them. I have partners, I have people in Y-Saves who were with me from the start, who, even though they've transited out of operational, volunteering, they are still one of my our strongest financial supporters, because they always see how their contribution to the vision, the impact. They always see the impact. So you have to always do that with your team. Then the second thing is that volunteers, you can't build anything sustainable on the shoulders of volunteers. Now, I will explain that because there are some volunteer-driven organizations. The only way you can do that, I dare say successfully, if there's any organization that has even done that successfully, is that you're doing a cycle of onboarding of fresh volunteers, because volunteering is a journey. It's not a Most times it's not a lifetime thing. Even for us at YCs, when people are filling our volunteer, we always put a timeline. How long do you see yourself volunteering with the organization? Some of you met ID. ID doesn't volunteer with YCs anymore, even though she's still a friend of YCs. She was here for 3 years. I remember when we were counting down to her going, I was so worried. I was like, because she has been with me but that was how our relationship started, from mentoring. She began to help me and started serving as executive assistant. She was here for 3 years. And this year she said, my third year is wrapping up. As much as it was a reality, and as God will have, and that's why how we also know that God is interested in division. Korede came into the picture and has entered that show and is feeling it very well. Do you understand? You must be conscious of continuous recruitment of volunteers until at least your vision grows enough for you to now employ staff. Now, the thing is that you must always, if you're thinking sustainability, think along the lines of having at least a group of staff members who are on full-time employment. But one of the struggles we have at YCs with these volunteer things that people, all of our volunteers also have their businesses, and I cannot come and be demanding somebody to do YCs for when they are in class teaching or when they are attending to a patient. Do you understand? So we're at the mercy of whenever they are available, and work will not move fast. Sometimes we need to write documents very quickly. We need to write proposals very fast, and nobody to do it, which is one of the reasons I'm happy to make this transition so that when nobody's available, at least I have all of these skills to step in and get it done. But in your case, if you leave the vision will leave you. If you leave the vision and if you're not sharing that vision continuously with the people in your team, after a while, something else will take their attention. Do you understand? Especially if there are people that are actually very purpose driven and passionate. If they're not seeing that level of passion from you, can't convince them to stay. So you have to constantly, you know, give them a reason to stay. Show them that that the contribution is valuable, but you have to constantly remind them of the big why. I did that a lot. Now we have like standard operational teams. So I'm not spending so much time with the general volunteer house anymore because I've been able to put a structure. But when we have our normal monthly town halls and stuff, right, with the general team, but we have the operational team, and those people are the people I talk with at least every day because there's something. So that's another segmentation you might need to identify, because another problem a lot of NGOs have, you just gather volunteers. You don't actually bring these volunteers based on what your organization needs. You just got a bunch of people who are passionate about doing good work that may not, as passionate as they are, they may not even have the right skill sets the organization needs at the time. At a point, we needed a graphics designer that was, we needed people who could handle corporate communications. We needed, all of those things. So how are you recruiting your volunteers? Passion is not enough. You have to be intentional about who you're bringing on your team. The same thing when you want to put a board of director or an advisory board. You don't just go and put people, because you have to look for the areas that your organization is deficient or needs help, needs support, then bring the expertise into your team. That's one of the ways they stay relevant, when they are actively contributing value. Do you understand? Even if you're not here, they see that they are contributing value, they stay relevant. I hope this answers your question to an extent.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
You're welcome. All right, can we suffice passion with purpose? Absolutely not. This word can be used interchangeably. No, it's not. They're not the same thing. You can be passionate about cooking rice. That does not mean that your purpose is to cook rice. Passion is more about drive, but you need passion to fulfill purpose. But passion is passion is the drive, that you need to bring any vision. It doesn't even have to be your purpose. So passion is the drive that you need. In a relationship, you need passion. in your career, to build a successful career, you need to have passion. To build anything, you need to have passion. But purpose is, I've explained what purpose is. So I hope this is clear. They're not the same at all. You can be passionate about something that is not your. I love to sing, but my purpose is not to sing. Now, how the passion and the purpose now marry in this area is that I have to see the greater purpose for my singing. What purpose does this singing serve? In this case, I'm a gospel minister, I'm a worship leader. So the purpose of my singing becomes, when I sing, let people have a connection to heaven in the place of worship. So he's saying it's no longer about my passion for singing. Now that there's a purpose, which is completely different. So passion is the drive. Purpose is what the purpose is. I hope that answers your question. Can be passionate about, but again, another thing, I think this is where people confuse it is, that's why they say even when you want to discover purpose, look at the things you're passionate about, right? That's the only marriage between these two words. Look at the things that are usually a pointer to your purpose. Do you understand? But the purpose is not the passion, but the passion can be a pointer to what the purpose is. Mesoma Esther, does this answer your question? Esther, does this answer your question? Please let me know. I'm moving to the next question. Awesome. Can you outgrow some friendships or relationships without hurting them? Absolutely. And the truth is that if you're caring about hurting people, I mean, there are relationships that just you outgrow them and they just die a natural death. They don't need to know that it even worked. The work just happens, right? The work just happens. Communication just that. You know, they say communication is the life wire of every relationship. Let me tell you some. I'll tell you one example. There was a lady when I was pregnant for my daughter. A friend of mine, I don't really, in fact, we just happened to be in the same church, and all that. And then somehow in that whole idleness, she would come and pick me from my house, say, you need to come out, this pregnant woman, don't be staying in the house. So she'll carry me to her boutique and everything with this. The friendship was not working because we're like this, but I found out that, I was beginning to indulge in some kind of conversations, one day, I said, no, I'm not. I have something to do. By the time I did it once, twice, she got the message. If she was hurt by it, I do not know. I don't think she was. She's an adult. You can't force friendships. But in this case, don't think more about yourself than about them. You're hurting them, that you left them. What if it's hurting you? Are you willing to sacrifice, or are you willing to live with the hurt of that relationship you have outgrown? Or like you want to keep it to your own hurt? It's better you let it go to their own hurt than you keep it to your own hurt. So look out for yourself because we're talking about you here. But don't just cut people off in a way that they feel emotion. I don't know how to explain it. It's about emotional intelligence. There doesn't have to be any drama around it, And anybody that makes you feel that way, that there are so those people like that. Oh, you don't used to call me. You don't used to. My dad, assertiveness is a life skill, major life skill. So you need to know how to handle people. You need to know how to set healthy boundaries for yourself, you know. Otherwise, man is inherently selfish in nature. People want something that will benefit them. So at some point, you also have to know that that's the nature of man. Don't give of yourself to your own heart. That's the way I'll put it. If it's not benefiting you, there's no need keeping it. If it's sapping you, it's even more dangerous to keep it. And the truth is that if something is not benefiting you, it's sapping you, whether it's obvious or not. There's nothing like halfway. It's either it's benefiting you or it's not. So if you cannot point to the benefit of that relationship, then know that it's taking something from you. You're just yet to identify what your losses are, and you don't want to discover it when the losses have become too much. Okay. Dami, I hope that answers your question. Now, for this kind of question, it's very contextual. I like to also maybe, I know that there could be a better context to this. So if you feel the need to talk more extensively with me about it, so I'm happy to share. And by the way, guys, I think I'll just bring this to a wrap. Here, I started a mentorship group after the World Changers Summit, and it's a commitment I made to myself this year. I already have a team of 12 that I work with, people have invested in, but I started this one after the World Changers Summit, and we have bi-weekly mentoring sessions. So if you want to join that group, you can reach out to Corey there on WhatsApp. It's a different group. This is more intimate mentoring, whether male or female. You're welcome to join the group. We call it the World Changers Mentoring Group. And there is a bit more I do with that group, that I can't do here. So if you want to be a part of it, please reach out to Corey there so she can help with the onboarding process. If you have any more questions, you can always reach out to me on WhatsApp. My number is on the WhatsApp group. Please bear with me. I'm not very chatty on WhatsApp, so it's a bit difficult. I prefer to have conversations, but yeah, you reach out to me. If we need to schedule a call and talk about it, I would be very obliged to do that. Then this training is, again, this is the foundational stage. For me, it's the most important. I know that, by the time we move into the one, but your being here means that you already have substance and you're building on solid ground. And I want to encourage you. Next week, I think the topic for next week is, let me see. Yeah, wisdom for life and leadership. And our facilitator is legit one of the smartest men I've met in my life. The guy is loaded, and you want to be in that class. There's which is my phone number. Okay, I'll drop it here. So that's the number. The one that has the organization name, that's the number. So you can but that's it. Yeah, so please make sure you're in that session and every other session from start to finish. We have 4 more classes. And then, yes, if you're in Lagos or in its neighboring environs, the last class for each of these programs is an in-person class. So we want to do a poll to know how many people, you're welcome, Ola, to know how many people are in Lagos, because we're trying to, lock down the training facility because an in-person program, even if you're not in Lagos, but you can make it to Lagos for that is one at the end of each of these programs. So this Leadership Foundations program is ending on the 13th of June and it's going to be an in-person session. Please, I encourage you, if you can come to Lagos, if you're outside of Lagos for that session, please come. So it's the same for when we enter the Employability and Career Development Program and Entrepreneurship Program. The last class, 1st of August, would also be in person. So we have 3 in-person sessions, and then we'll wrap up the program with the graduation ceremony and youth conference sometime in November. So just start prepping. You already have the curriculum. Just know that the last days for each of the programs is the in-person one. You get to meet us in person, meet some of the facilitators, and really just network and connect. Oh, please, guys, today is Korede's birthday. Please, let's say happy birthday to our wonderful, wonderful program coordinator. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Please say happy birthday to Korede on the chat. Happy birthday, dear Corey. Happy birthday to you. I just saw the message. I'm so sorry, my love. I didn't realize. Oh, happy birthday, my love. God bless you. God keep you. Everything that we're doing here, may it take firstborn in your life. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, guys. With this, we've come to the end of the session. If you're not following us, please hit that follow button on Instagram at YSIPS Foundation, on LinkedIn, YSIPS Foundation, on Facebook, YSIPS Foundation. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Ivory Emeka-Oguagha. And most importantly, if there's an assignment for this class, I'll come up with one. Please make sure you submit your assignment from last week and the one that we're going to be giving. The video recording will be up by Monday, hopefully tomorrow if it's possible. All right, enjoy the rest of your weekend and see you next week, Saturday. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Ma. Bye.
Bye.